Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Yes, you too. I was saying to Jose and Carl and I are meeting next week, but I said it's so funny. I've never met them, but I've met you and Liz because I helped with the interview
Yeah,
process.
that's true.
It's nice to see
Um,
some familiar faces.
yeah. How is my audio? Is that
It's
okay?
good. Yeah, it's good.
Cool.
Yep.
How's grad school life?
It's going. It's different. So I go to the lab like 2 days a week, and then I work
Mhm.
from home the other three, and then I'm tutoring at night with Lasalle, and it's going. I kind of like the going back and forth. I think it would have, it's a kind of like a 45-minute drive, so I think it would have been tough to go every day, but eventually I'll have to. So
Yeah,
prepared for that, but it's not terrible. A lot of my work is reading, so it's nice to do it at home. I don't need to be in the lab for that.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then
how's your,
you're
sorry,
not
how's your
GSIing or anything yet.
no, no, no. How is your transition to LaSalle?
Well, I mean, I was teaching at Lasalle
Oh, I
before I
didn't
got.
know that. What were you
Uh,
teaching?
I'm a religion professor when they
I didn't
need
know
me.
that. Okay. I had Downey. That was my most recent religion professor. So
I miss that man.
did he leave LaSalle? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he's at Rochester. Jack's actually one of my really good friends.
Yeah, yeah,
So
he was super cool. I really liked taking his course.
yeah, he's so weird and he's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, he's at Rochester. Uh, he's got an endowed chair there. I forget who the chair is named after, but he is the famous rich person chair of religion and Catholic
Wow.
studies at
Wow.
Rochester. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, he was really cool.
he's
So I'm gonna
he's an
start.
important figure. So,
Yeah, that's funny. I'm going to start with my first question. So tell us about yourself. Where and what did you study in college? And then why did you choose to be a success coach at LaSalle?
um, okay. You're
Loaded
cutting these,
question.
right? This isn't just like a batch, like one take.
Oh no, yeah, I
Okay.
can move some stuff around.
Um, so
No worries.
I started out as an anthropology major in college because when I when I was applying to schools, I wanted to be Indiana Jones. So not that I have any adventure
Very
bug,
cool.
I just liked looking at ancient religious artifacts and you know different cultures around the world, and I wanted to study that. And then I got to college and I realized I actually like history a lot more. And I do, so I ended up majoring in history and I did medieval history as my emphasis. And the reason I like that is because I like working with lots of different languages. And in my field, I worked with, well, I did graduate work in history. So I ended up, working with like 6 or 7 different languages every day, kind of doing research and reading and translating. So yeah, that's what I studied in college. I coming out of high school, I had a lot of science credits because I did a lot of science APs. And then I realized if I studied history, I didn't have to take a science class ever in college. So I did that. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I can't relate. I
Um,
can't relate to that.
so I never took a science class in college because
Wow.
I AP'd out of all of them.
Nice. I had to
Yeah,
take a history course, which did not was not my favorite. So I wish I could have gotten out of it. But it was interesting.
yeah. Um, yeah, you probably only had to do 1 or 2, right?
With the honors triple, I had to do
Oh,
two.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they were a little more intense than I would have liked, but I learned a lot. It was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, I guess so. The second part, why did I choose to be a success coach? So I was teaching after graduate school. I taught first year students pretty much as a professor. And I realized that a lot of the things that I like to do in my first year student courses is mostly college success related. You know, instead of teaching about the actual subject, I like teaching students how to be better at doing college and how to be better with their planning ahead, time management, et cetera, how to read effectively, how to study for exams effectively. So all of those things were the best parts of my teaching first year students. And so I wanted to be a success coach in that regard so that I could be more direct, more hands-on. I mean, I like to joke around and say I used my subject, because I taught religion as a way to teach people how to college. And so now as a success coach, I don't have to do the religion part, which I'm sure a lot of people are grateful about. So
It's so funny. Everyone that I've been doing interviews all day, everyone has like a very different path. We have like math majors and then history and theology teachers. So it's interesting. Like everyone needs like success coaching. I feel like it shows like everyone might be different majors in college, but everyone had to be successful. So it's funny how it doesn't matter your background. You have to be like, you have to know how to be successful in your field. Which leads to my next one. So what success strategies did you use in college? And now that you're on the other side and you have this experience, what was helpful or what did you do that you look back on and were like, don't do this?
I think you and I actually talked about this before, but I had a mentor in college who said college is easy as long as you preview and review every day. And so that was a skill that I kind of put into actually my most successful semesters, I should say, because there were some semesters that weren't that successful.
Well, it's all about balance anyways.
Yeah. But my most successful semesters were ones where I actually set time to preview and review, which meant that every night before I slept, I took about like half an hour to go over what I'd read, what I'd learned in class, and not like in super detail, but just to kind of put little bookmarks in my brain about what was happening. And then to preview what was coming up the next day and be like, okay, so tomorrow I have my Social class. So I will probably be talking about these sorts of things. You know, I did the reading, so we did these sorts of things. I didn't do the reading, but the syllabus says this. So I'm going to try to presume, and even doing that exercise, you know, just kind of warms you up a little bit. So that was something that I carried through my time in college. What wasn't very successful, not taking advantage of like the writing tutors and writing resources that we had. My first semester in college, I thought I was an okay writer, and I get my first paper back and it's a D. You know,
I just talked about this to Melissa. I said the same thing. Mine was a C, but
yeah,
not the A's I was used to in high school. The same thing happened to me.
Well, yeah, and what was heartbreaking is, you know, I did really well in high school. So like you show up and then you realize, wait, I'm not writing effectively, right? But you don't know what those problems are. And so even with the comments that my professor or my instructor would give, I didn't know what that meant. So I needed a little bit more work to figure out what exactly they were saying, because I kept reading it from the way that I'd been taught in high school.
Right.
You know? And so having gone to like writing tutors would have sped up that process for me. Eventually it came around, but it took a semester or two to feel confident about it. But yeah. Go ahead.
I run the Instagram account, and 2 posts that we recently, Phoenix is always helping me make content. One was the prime your brain before class, and that's exactly what you just said. Like, and I used to do that. Like, reading before isn't so that you learn the material. It's more so that you, when the teacher presents it to you, it's not unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And so if you know that like the certain headings are important, then when the professor brings that up, you're like, oh, I do remember this in context with this. Yeah. And then the other one, I can't remember what you were just talking about. We posted something else. The workshop. We have a workshop on, what did you
writing?
just, yeah, what did you just, could you repeat what you just said? What was the thing that you didn't do? We have a workshop.
I didn't go to the writing tutors, and that would have sped up my process of like.
Yeah. How to take teacher feedback. That we have a workshop on that, and it's like, why did I get this? Because you're right. Looking at a teacher's feedback isn't just enough. Like sometimes you need to be able to look at it, and also a writing tutor can help too. So you can go take that feedback, because it's not always intuitive what they're saying. If you're not familiar with the writing process, and they're like, oh, you're missing this, you might not know what that is, and you don't want to go to professor sometimes. So the writing tutor can really come in, and they have a workshop for that too. So that's really relevant.
Yeah, and I think in my case too, like a whole bunch of it was I'd already been successful in high school. So I was like, oh, I could figure this out. But realizing that everything I'd learned in high school, it still was contextualized by high school. It wasn't framed for the next level of learning. And you don't realize there's a next level until like, you know.
And if you never had a tutor before, I think there's almost like a negative connotation you have to get over. Like, I was a tutor in high school. So to come to college and realize that I needed a tutor, it's definitely, I wish it wasn't that way, but it's something you have to think like, okay, not that there's ever anything wrong with tutoring, but it was hard for me to transition. And then by senior year, I was tutoring and then hopping over and being tutored all in the same like shift. Like it got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm really good at this, but I really need help at other things. So yeah, that's definitely good. What do you think some of the biggest mistakes that you see students make are that first semester?
The biggest one I see over and over again is they think they can catch up when they've missed work. And I think that's just one of those big gaps between high school education and college education, where like, I don't know, for some reason in college, maybe you miss a week of classes for whatever reason, right? And you think you can make it up without realizing that 1 week's worth of work in college is actually 3 to 4 weeks worth of work in high school. And so even missing just one class session puts you behind a week in high school, right? So that was a huge thing that I realized in my first year of college. And then in seeing it in my students now, like they're like, oh no, I'm fine. I just need to catch up, without realizing that it's really hard to catch up because the very next day you're getting another week's worth of assignments, another week's worth. And so things pile on. And so that was something that I like to pass on to students, right? Don't ever try to catch up. Try to do what's in front of you first, and then go back and fill in the gaps once you start doing the thing, or you completed what's in front of you, you know?
Right. And that, I mean, things happen, right? Sometimes you need to take time off, but it is important to go into it knowing like I am missing a significant amount of work, and you need to really, instead of just like trying to catch up, you're right, you need to really think about like, is this realistic? And you need to reach out to your professor. Like a constant line of communication when you know you're gonna be missing is really important. Yeah. So in your own words, what would you say Success Coach is? It is a newer position at the center. So just things like who can benefit from scheduling an appointment? What is a Success Coach?
I like to say in my first meetings with students that I'm kind of like your older cousin that went to Lasalle, that you can kind of get advice from, or like can direct you to like the people that you should know, or the offices, or the orgs and student groups that you should be checking out, or even like things that you should just not, I'm like Yelp for Lasalle, right? Like make sure you don't miss this when you're here at Lasalle.
Right.
And so I like to frame it that way. I used to say cousin, and then one of my students this semester was like, not cousin, uncle. And I felt very old.
No.
Which I am. I'm like old enough to be,
no.
be their parent.
No, that's a really good, like, because it's right. And how I like to think of it too is like, I used to say that with my students too, as a tutor, and especially in SI, there's questions you don't want to ask the professor. And some professors I had great relationships with, especially one was my advisor. I took him for like 3 different classes. I probably could have asked him anything and it would have been fine. But then there's other professors that you might not feel that relationship. And that's where like an SI or success coach comes in, because you're not grading them. You're kind of unbiased in that sense. So it's nice to have someone who you can talk to and feel like if you say the wrong thing, you're not gonna take point. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's nice in that sense.
I wouldn't even say it's unbiased. I'd say I'm definitely on the side of the student.
Right. So
it's not like you're always I'm always taking the student side and all of this stuff, and whatever it is, because that's why we're here. We felt the feelings that they felt in their first year, right?
And there were times, especially in my challenging courses, where I had great professors, but I didn't even want to go and talk to them about strategies for success because I didn't understand it well enough. That I just felt like if I said the wrong thing, they would think, and they would never think this, but they would think like, oh wow, like you really don't understand this material. So that, I think there's a lot of confidence issues when you're learning something new. You don't want to you feel like you're going to convince the professor that you don't know what you're talking about. Whereas sometimes you need, I think a success coach could just help with confidence building. I don't even know if there were success coaches. I definitely didn't know about them, and I worked at the center. I think I definitely could have benefited from one of them.
Well, I mean, I've done the things that I really love doing with my students right now is reading emails that they're going to send to their professors and they feel nervous about sending. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Like, because that's something that you need to learn how to do, right?
And nobody teaches you. That's the
No.
other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And it's
having someone who will teach you
mhm.
is important.
And it's every kind of student that needs that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not often that 18, 19-year-olds talk to experts in their fields, you know?
Right. Yes. Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. And the other stuff I really like doing is just like really getting students to understand the benefit of a liberal arts education, where you have a university and not just a tech school or a trade school, where the whole purpose of coming to a school like this is to take courses outside of your major, and giving people and saying, hey, try this class, you'll really like it, you know. Just
Yeah, and
sharing.
learning how to market when if you're going on to grad school or
Totally.
something else, learning how to market yourself. Like I don't just have this small niche thing. Like I have a well-rounded. I took art classes, I took theology courses, I took a sports
Yeah.
and spirituality course. You know what I mean? So there is, and I think you're right. No one really talks about the benefit. They
Yeah.
sometimes come off as these electives, like, why do I have to take these? Whereas I think it would help both the student and the professor if
Mm-hmm.
a conversation could be had about the benefits and how you can add this to, your resume or statement of purpose or something.
Yeah, I mean, along that line, like what I say to my, what I like to say to my first year students is everyone's going to get the same information in your major, whether you go to Penn, whether you go to Temple, whether you go to, Westchester or Lasalle. Like biology is still biology, right?
Right. Yep.
In fact, you might even be using the same textbooks all the way through.
Yep.
So what is it that's different that's going to be from LaSalle that's going to contribute to your story, the story you tell about yourself,
right,
to future employers or to graduate schools or whatever. And that's what I think a success coach is supposed to be here to do, right? To give people a sense and the ability and the means to tell their own story about their education.
right. So what is one thing today that you think a student could do to put them on the right path to success? Obviously, there's no like quick fix, like I'm successful now, but something they could do today that would put them on the right trajectory.
That was a different way that you framed it than I thought you were going to frame it. Okay. Let me answer.
No worries. Or just like, what's your biggest piece of advice you would give students?
What I was thinking about it, and I wrote in my notes here. The biggest piece of advice is to find a way to make your learning interesting, right? And that I think goes back to what we were just talking about. Like, how are you going to piece this into your own story? And if you can make it a part of your story, then it actually becomes more interesting to you. So it might be a class that you don't even care anything about, but if you could find yourself in that subject in some small sort of way, right? So, I was a history major, but if I had to take math, right, then figure out a way to make that subject important to me and how I'm going to tell this story when I'm done, right? And that will add value, that will add enthusiasm and motivation to how you approach stuff.
That makes me think of the common, like my mom's math teacher, and she gets the question like, when are we going to use this in life? So as a college student, it's not your professor, like they didn't tell you to sign up for this course, you signed up for it. So it's kind of like your responsibility. How will this matter to your life? Because I never would have thought certain like algebra components would add to my life. Right now I find I use stuff in like my personal life, like budgeting and things like that. So it's important, like kind of the student's responsibility, or you could sit down with your professor and have a conversation, but they might not like hearing that you think their stuff is irrelevant. But yeah, definitely I agree, it's student's responsibility to say, okay, how does this fit into my life? Because if you're unmotivated, you're not going to do well.
Well, I had a student who was who's a computer science major, really wanted to just do coding, and really like bristling at the fact that part of their core curriculum involved writing classes or like a history class. So they were in the diversity core curriculum class as well as writing in this semester. And I'm like, you want to code, but if you want to create games, you got to know how to tell a story, because games are cool, but without the story, you're not going to sell these games. And I think that's where it clicked for that person to be like, oh, okay, so even if I just invest very limited amount of myself into this class, if it's going to come back to me in some sort of way where it's going to add to the thing that I'm doing. And that really is the logic of a university, right? Like we create well-rounded learners so that they become really good at the one thing they want to do with their life.
Right.
And if we don't ask people to do these other parts, then you're going to have just, you know, a one-dimensional sort of person that graduates, and we want multidimensional, fully developed people. And yeah, I think that's like, for it doesn't even have to be that practical. It could just be like, oh, I really liked this name, and hearing about this country, this, you know, in this class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just whatever way it draws you in, I think hold on to it, you know.
Nice. And my last question is more of a fun one. What are you currently binge watching? So I've heard a lot today about shows I've never seen. So high hopes right now.
Well, Tess, I hate to disappoint you.
No.
I have a toddler, so binge watching does not exist in my world.
Yeah, I guess not. I probably wouldn't be interested in what they're interested in. So.
If you're talking about binge watching Coco Melon, then yeah, that happens a lot.
I did just watch Raya and the Last Dragon. I was babysitting my nephew.
Oh,
it was really cool.
And they had premium?
No, I did pay the $30. They had Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was really good.
I'm excited to watch that with my kids.
Yeah. I think they said it comes out in June if you don't want to get, I don't know if it was worth $30, but.
Yeah, I mean, I do actually binge listen to a bunch of podcasts.
Nice. Okay.
So there is a podcast called The Neighborhood Listen, which is an improv podcast where you have two people and a guest improv based on the Neighborhood app. Do you know the Neighborhood app?
Yes, you get like notifications. Unfortunately, I don't know if that will sound Temple. It's switched a little bit since I've gone to the suburbs, but I did have it.
Yeah, so like it's people posting about like lost pets and just random things that are happening in the neighborhood. And so people improvise characters based on just those posts. And so they take a post out of context. And
that's funny. I'll have to. I need podcasts because when I'm doing lab work and driving to work, I like get sick of music. So I'll try that one out.
Yeah. If you like improv comedy,
I laugh. I don't know. I like comedy.
If you like characters,
yeah,
it's fun. I also actually did have a chance to really binge though, because I got stuck in quarantine because of COVID. And I was isolating, and so I binge watched Rami. So that's a good show.
I'll add that one. Yeah, I'm always surprised. I feel like all I do is watch TV, and then people have these shows that I like haven't seen, and podcasts.
And the other one was Pen 15, but I don't know if that'll make it into the cut.
I'll see. I've been having a lot of free time to watch TV, so probably will. Hopefully I won't have as much anymore.
Do you know the premise of Pen 15?
I don't.
So it's a junior high kids show, but there's two adult actors that are in junior high with these kids playing their junior high selves.
Oh, wow.
And it's really awkward, and yeah.
I really do like finding new shows. I feel like I've binged since Breaking Bad in like 2015. So I've been binging since. So I'll have to try it.
Do you like awkward humor?
I do. I just watched New Girl. I finished New Girl.
Okay.
That was really awkward humor. I feel like I enjoyed it.
If you like New Girl, then you'll like Pen 15.
Yeah, no, I'll have to definitely watch.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining today. I think this will be really beneficial for students because, again, I don't think success coaches, not everyone knows what it is and do I need it. I think everyone could use it. So thank you.
Who has been your favorite coach so far?
Oh, I don't know. You've all had really good conversations. I might have to rank you guys based on TV binge series. So
who had the best one?
Well, I haven't watched any of them. But you gave the best description, so I did enjoy it. But I'm not going to rank because I know it'll get back to everyone.
Dang it! I was hoping. I just like to come back to Jose and be like,
I knew it. I literally could sense it. So I'm not bringing. You were all really great. I still have to do Carla, so it wouldn't be fair.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well,
she moved to next week.
She's going to outshine everybody.
Well, we'll see.
If I had to power rank the coaches, Carla's number 1.
Oh, I'm excited to meet with her.
Liz is number 2. Then Jose, and then me.
Well, you were all excellent interviewees, so I really appreciate it.
Cool. Good luck this semester.
Thank you.
All right, see ya.
Bye.